Here, big girl. Moving, surrounded now by a herd of elephants. We've got a little one walking up with Mom. Mom's stopping to grab a quick snack. This bush willow woodland, it's a combination of bush willow and raisin leaf. Not all that easy considering how much the leaves have lost their nutrition. It actually died off almost completely. And they won't linger long here. Why, did you get a trunk full of leaves, little one? Little female calf. You can immediately tell that from her behavior, just by the fact that she didn't look too much in our direction, scurrying across to the safety of the rest of the herd. Generally, the little female calves are a bit more retiring than the males, a bit more shy. You can really see just how dry what these elephants are feeding on is. That's a red bush willow that she's currently consuming. And they're going to have to eat much more of it than they might in summer to sustain their enormous body size. And the fluttering of the drongo, for those of you who are sharp-eyed and keeping an eye on what's going on. Always a pretty much constant companion to elephant herds like this. Little calf now feels much safer because probably Mom is right there. She's very young, the mother. Yes, it is definitely Mom because the little calf is trying to suckle. You can see the difference between their foot size there. This must be her first baby. She's a very, very young female. And I can tell that just in terms of her size, as well as the area around the forehead and the temporal region. Young elephants, like young human beings, generally have more elastin in their skin, and therefore their bones not as prominent as they are on older elephants. Look at that! How cool is that? A resting foot place, giving us a chance to see the fine lines and cracks that run through the sole of an elephant foot. Our Ellies are moving off, and James has got one of the most magnificent of all the raptor species.
There is a bataleur, everyone, and this bataleur is actually astoundingly close to the road and hasn't flown away. Its partner, they definitely live around here, this couple of bataleurs, its partner came up off the ground here, which led me to believe that there was something that had recently died somewhere around here. And the fact that this one is sitting still and not flying away, because normally they don't let us get this close to them, indicates that maybe there is something, maybe a snake they've killed or something like that. I don't think it's anything large, because the other one wouldn't have been on the ground if it had been something too big, or if there had been a predator present. Anyway, just enjoy the sight of that magnificent bataleur. I think that's just wonderful. I think that's the male. I can't see exactly. Let me have a look with my binoculars. No, I think that's the female. See, you've got the brown all the way down the wing. Very beautiful. That very hooked beak, indicative of the raptors, and that red face. They really are very special birds. And you can see the primary flight feathers there. They're the ones just sticking out the bottom of the branch there. And those stick out. Look at him walking, her walking. You see how they stick out beyond where the tail extends. And that is immediately, if you've never seen a bataleur before, it's immediately indicative of this very short-tailed eagle. And that sound, I don't know if you can hear it. a whole flock of oxpeckers flying past on their way to find a herd of buffalo or some nyala or impala to sit on. Amazing how a bird is able to turn its head so far around. It's 180 degrees there. And constantly just making little adjustments, preening the feathers. And watching us very carefully. Taking oil from the glands underneath the neck there, and then spreading that oil throughout the feathers. Making sure that all the barbs and barbules and barbicels of the flight feathers are stuck together perfectly, so that when she does eventually take off today, she doesn't plummet to the ground, unfortunately. Wonderful. Thank you, Candace in Cape Town. You say that you've complimented my vocabulary. Thank you, that's very kind. You say you'd like to add to it with the word apricity, which apparently, and I had no idea that this is the case, apricity meaning the warmth of the sun on a cold winter's day. Apricity. I shall try and remember that. That might be right up there with the petrichor. Apricity. Thank you very much for that, Candace. Apricity. David, do you feel the apricity of the morning?
I do.
And sitting here, there's very apricitous. I'm not sure if apricitous is a word. Alrighty, let's move on from here. Let's see what else we can see. We're doing a last pass through the eastern sections of Djuma, and after our last pass here, we're going to go towards Treehouse Dam, where Jamie began her drive, simply because we're not convinced where Karula's gone. She's headed off to Cheetah Plains to see if she can find something there. We, on the old Maggie the Mahindra, can't go anywhere other than Djuma at the moment, and so we'll go back into that area. I think maybe we'll be lucky. Herbert is around there, so let's go and have a look-see. We could also, of course, attempt the hyena den. Ah, yes. Sorry, my story that I was telling you about my olfactory senses, my sense of smell. I had a girlfriend, like I said to you, and she and I had, I think, what can only be described as a tempestuous relationship. We've all had those relationships in our time. We weren't very good for each other, let's put it that way. Anyway, she wore a very distinctive, very subtle but distinctive deodorant. And whenever I smell that, I'm taken right back to those tumultuous times. And I know that many of you will have that experience, where you'll smell an aftershave that you haven't smelled for a long time perhaps, and maybe it was the same one your father wore, or your father does wear, and that'll immediately trigger memories. And I just think that our olfactory senses are much more powerful than we think they are. And I mean, if you go even further into it, there's a lot of evidence to suggest that the way we select mates as human beings has a lot to do with our olfactory senses, and that we're actually able to tell the parasite resistance of potential partners by their smell, totally subconsciously, so that if somebody smells right to you, it's normally because they're resistant to a different suite of parasites from the ones that you are resistant to, and therefore your children, should you have any, will be resistant to both the ones you are resistant to and the ones that your sweet-smelling partner is resistant to. So listen to your nose, everybody. Be good for your kids. There's some impala, David. Can you believe it? Zach, in Canada, you say if we had a sense of smell like a hyena's, what kind of environment would we be forced to live in, or what could we live in? How would it advantage us? Zach, a hyena, of course, is a scavenger, That's why it's got such a powerful sense of smell. They are hunters as well, but they do scavenge a great deal. And so I suppose it would allow us to be more effective scavengers. We would also be able to smell potential partners at 200 paces, which would be very good, I think. Zach, I'm trying to think on how else it would benefit us. You know, in our current society, I don't think it will. I think if it would. But if we had a very powerful sense of smell and we lived in the bush still, say we were Stone Age human beings, and suddenly we developed a very powerful sense of smell, I think that would give us a much greater advantage to finding carcasses and that sort of thing. And of course, human beings at their advent, well, there's a large school of thought that says that we became bipedal to take advantage of the plains of East Africa and the death that happens there by natural causes, and that we learned to move around in the middle of the day and over such vast distances to scavenge. And I imagine then if we had very powerful senses of smell, that job would have been that much easier. But we didn't really need it, because by then, of course, we developed fairly large brains and good eyesight and cooperation. I hope does that answer your question, Zach? If it doesn't, please send it again and tell me to stop being silly. It's getting rather warmer now. The apricity is marvellous. And someone called Van Buren in Missouri, is that right? Van Buren in Missouri? You say this must be quite a smelly adventure, seeing all the dung on the ground, and does it not make it smelly? Not at all. You know, the herbivore dung that you're seeing here is almost universally quite pleasant smelling once it gets a little bit older, and it's really not like driving through a field of dog dung, for example, or hyena dung, which would be extremely unpleasant. Lion dung, of course, as well, disgusting stuff. So no, the herbivore dung is like driving through sort of very subtle scented potpourri. Yes, the apricity is definitely taking over now. It's very, very pleasant. Thank you, Candice in Cape Town. The reason I keep repeating the word apricity is because if I don't, I will forget it. So I'll probably say it another 40 or 50 times during the course of this apricitous morning. David, until recently, was enjoying the apricity by lying on the back seat in which he is supposed to be filming me from. This is because the position at which the camera is perched is very uncomfortable for him. So he made do by relaxing, reclining like a Roman on a sofa, appreciating the apricity of a very warm Italian morning. Brian makes a very, very good point here. And it opens up another topic. Brian, you say that there are people in Scotland that have their senses of smell insured, and there are whiskey tasters and blenders, and thank goodness for them in the world, I'd say. I mean, that's got to be one of the most valuable professions the world has, those of the blenders of fine whiskies. And Brian, you say that they have their noses insured. Of course they do, and they would. And it's an indication, actually, of how very sensitive our noses really are. Because I know that for most of us, the taste of red wine and whiskey, especially whiskey, if you're not a whiskey drinker. Sorry, I'm just trying to find something to help me remove this branch. And we'll try to do it with my hands, but it is very thorny. Brian, yes, of course, to create wines and whiskies, you've got to have a tremendously sensitive sense of smell, as well as a tremendously sensitive sense of taste. And they're inescapably interlinked. Oh, this is going to hurt. we go, David. Look how stout I am. And is it off yet? Now? There we go. And Brian, that's a throwback. It's obviously something you can teach yourself, but it's a throwback to our evolutionary past. So we must have used our noses more effectively than we did. And I guess many of us have got that ability. Many of us probably don't have it as effectively as others, in the same way that some people don't see so good, and some people do see much better. So that's a real interesting, I think that's actually a fascinating point, and shows us how sensitive our noses can be. I have not insured my nose. Have you, David?
Nope.
Ah, yes. The smell of the morning, we haven't discussed that, of course, is very delicious. It smells very fresh. A little bit of dust hanging in the air from the cold front that passed through yesterday. But otherwise, it just smells very freshly of crisp winter. So crisply of fresh winter that there is nothing here. Right, let's go and find out from Jamie if there are any more mammals on Cheetah Plains.
Well, so far no mammals on Cheetah Plains, but there must have been at one point at least one female leopard walking straight towards 3 in a row pan. And I say that because I have encountered her tracks. And they look, I hesitate to say it now because my leopard tracking this morning hasn't quite gone according to plan. They look very fresh. Probably in Kanyeni, the female leopard that I have yet to encounter. I think I'm the last one of all of the presenters that have yet to see her. Brian, have you seen her?
I've seen her.
A few times?
Twice.
Twice. Right, 2 more times than I've seen her. So she's got to be somewhere here. Please let the leopard tracking go slightly better than it did first thing this morning. But yes, all is quite quiet otherwise on Cheetah Plains. Mammal life appears to be relatively scarce. But one thing we know is that there's very little water in the area at the moment, and we know the Cheetah Plains pan has been pumped, or 3 in a row pan is being pumped. Let us go and investigate and see whether or not our female leopard came through for a drink. She's actually walked off the road now. All her tracks have been walked over by another animal. Oh, there's an interesting smell coming from 3 in a row pan. I know you've been discussing pleasant childhood smells with James. I'm not sure I would describe this as pleasant. It's quite unpleasant actually. But this is the northernmost pan of 3 in a row pan, and it's full of water for the first time in a very, very long time. The elephants actually pulled out their pipes, from what I understand, making it impossible for them to pump every single pan in 3 in a row pan. But they appear to have remedied that, and I think that's the reason behind the smell. I think it's just because this pan has been dry for a while, and it's now got water in it. Oh, there's a leopard. Surprise! That was interesting. Hello, gorgeous. Hey, beautiful. Are you the lovely leopard that left the tracks behind? You don't look like a leopard that I have ever encountered before. Well, that was a pleasant surprise. Hey, guess what? My leopard tracking did go better than I expected. Let's go find out who's resting up on this termite mound. How wonderful! What wonderful luck we have had. Hey, high five, Brian.
High five.
Hey, it just goes to show you never know what to expect on a live safari, and when you are chatting about the smell of a pan, you might want to lift your head up and look elsewhere, for there may well be a leopard there. I'm just going to pop my car into low range. I don't know this leopard, and I always have an approach with animals that I'm unfamiliar with, to just approach very cautiously, as I might if it were a skittish leopard. It's not a skittish leopard, clearly. But because I don't know it, I do just want to have an extra level of caution. Who on earth have we got here? Hello. Aren't you gorgeous? This must be... Ooh, I'm about to drive into the pan itself. This is not a female, so there's still a female hiding in this area. This is not a female. Is this quarantine? I have never met this leopard before. I need your help, guys. Who have we got here? Which leopard have we got? I think this is Quarantine. My very first time seeing him. I think it's him. And I'm absolutely thrilled. Hello, boy. It is a pleasure to meet you. Aren't you absolutely gorgeous? I'm just trying to think if there's a better way to view him in terms of repositioning the vehicle, just so that Brian's got a slightly better view of his face. It's definitely not his tracks that we were looking at earlier. So there we go. It seems the general consensus is that this is Quarantine, and I couldn't be more thrilled because this is the first time that I have seen him. I have never ever... Quarantine did used to... I mean, he grew up on Djuma, and he dispersed with his brother Kunuma just before I started working for Wild Earth. And then he keeps making appearances every time I'm on leave. Every time I'm on leave, he decides to come onto Djuma, catch a kudu or something similar, and then when I return, he disappears. So to see him is an absolute pleasure. I was just quite surprised that I didn't notice beforehand. Absolutely wonderful, and James doing a fantastic job of calling it in to give me a hand. And he's blinking sleepily in the sun. So yesterday, as I mentioned, he had a slight confrontation with Shimbambalana, his older brother, another leopard that I have yet to see. I'm not sure what the outcome was. I think probably there, as with most leopard conflicts, it was resolved by one of them walking away. Leopard fights are relatively rare. Sorry, I'm listening to elephants in the distance. Something's upset them terribly. Oh, goodness. Very upset. Okay, I just need to call this in on the Eastern channel. James has called it in on our Northern Game Drive channel, and there's lots of chatter happening in my ear, so I just need to be able to turn one of them off. Morning stations, 1 Milorder Ingwe at static at 3 in a row pan. There we go. Oh, never mind. That went through to poor old Jerry and the lovely Kirsty in final controls, because we've got too many radios here. And that's of course why I need to just maneuver things. Sorry everybody, we will get back to talking about this amazing male leopard in a moment. I do just need to call this in. Morning stations, 1 Milorder Ingwe static 3 in a row pan. And I presume everybody heard me, and if they didn't, oh well, there's not much more I can do about it for now. He's found himself the perfect patch where he's hidden in the shade. Now, just going back to the Shimbambalana and Quarantine conflict, most leopard arguments have settled relatively peacefully. There's a lot of growling, a lot of posturing, but they actually very, very seldom come to blows. Things are going to change, though, as Quarantine starts to grow older. So at the moment, he's not really he hasn't quite reached his prime. He will be much smaller than Shimbambalana in terms of just weight, and he isn't yet ready to compete for territory here, or he might be. It does all depend on attitude, and of course his twin brother Kunuma famously, it was suggested, caused some serious trouble in Londolozi with one of their dominant male leopards. But chances are he's going to remain relatively subservient to Shimbambalana for now. But that is going to change. Shimbambalana has established this as his territory, as he is dominant in this area. And things will be interesting when Quarantine, in about a year and a half, maybe even less than, maybe even a year's time, where the two of them are going to be of relatively equal size, and the conflict becomes a little bit more tricky. And it remains to be seen exactly how that's going to play out. But fortunately, Wild Earth will be here to follow the story. And what an absolute wonderful surprise this sighting has been. I wonder where the female is, because it definitely was not male leopard tracks that I saw earlier in terms of their size. Oh, he's looking up. I wonder, I believe that when Brent was with him yesterday, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that he was actually looking quite hungry. I wonder whether or not he's managed to obtain a meal or not. Hello, boy. This is so awesome. Look at those incredible eyes of his. Sort of a light jadish color. It always is such a pleasure encountering new leopards. We love seeing our characters, and our well-known and our well-loved characters, but for us it is incredibly exciting whenever we get to see or meet a new character, especially one like Quarantine that I've heard so much about. That intense leopard stare that he's currently fixed upon us, or before finding a more comfortable spot to snooze. And he's big. He's much bigger than I expected him to be. I don't know why. I mean, I just had an image in my head of Quarantine, having seen photos from when I first started here. Brent showed me photos of Quarantine and Kunuma, and it's obviously a year later, a year's worth of growing. He has definitely starting to develop that really thick neck of a full-grown male. Okay. Just shifting to a more comfortable spot and making life slightly more tricky. And let us reposition and see if we can't get another view of his head, although there's his lovely tail now visible to us. Stretched out, and his spot is perfect because it's got a little bit of shade, and it's also sheltered from the wind that started to blow once again. Seems as though whenever I make a trip across to Cheetah Plains, the wind starts to howl. Okay, let's reposition so we can have a view of his face. Hold on a second, I'm stuck in my blanket, bear with me. It's wrapped around my legs to keep me warm in the long Cheetah Plains trip. Now, Quarantine and Kunuma, from what I've heard, are actually okay. So he came from in here. So the female that we were tracking was a little bit further to the north, and I wonder where she went off to. I wonder what the relationship between Nkanyeni and Quarantine is like. While we shift about to see what he is staring at intently, let's go across briefly to James to see what he's found.
Well, that is a severe stroke of luck that we've all had, everyone. Well, I say we. I like to include myself in these things. Of course, I am not viewing quarantine male leopard. I am viewing some Egyptian goose. 2 Egyptian geese, a number of ring-necked doves, some black Smith lapwings, and also... Can you hear that, Dave? The tick, 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 tick. There's a very strange noise. Hang on. I think it must be the geese. It is, it's the geese. I think it's the geese's beaks going tick, 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 as they look through the water. That's amazing. Then also at the far end of the dam is a grey heron who is making out like a duck. I've never seen a heron sitting in the water like that. So what he's doing, I don't know. But probably waiting for a fish of some sort to come by so he can stab it and eat it. It's all rather peaceful. There's also a 3-banded plover here, which I'm not going to attempt to show you with this current lens, which is a bit short for birding. Anyway, that is the state of play here at the Buffelshoek Dam. Now, apparently there were lion tracks heading this way earlier today from the northern cut line, the Buffelshoek cut line. It's not too far from here. We're going to go around towards the east, see if we don't pick up something there. If we don't, then we'll head back sort of towards the hyena den. Maybe there's something there, but at least Jamie has managed to find her luck today. Here we go.
We have been incredibly lucky, repositioned ourselves with another view of Quarantine's face, and I think he's actually a little bit miserable. I think he's cold. Quarantine does have a very serious face. As I said, it's the first time I've ever seen him. Now, young male leopards are just absolutely stunning. They really, truly are. There's something extraordinary about them. They haven't quite reached the older stage where they've got the thick neck and the dewlap, and whilst a full-grown male leopard in his prime is impressive and magnificent and awe-inspiring, a young male leopard, to me, is the most beautiful of all of the leopard sort of the males and females. There's just something so perfect about them at this age. He's looking a little bit unsettled. I wonder if he didn't have another confrontation with Shimvambalana at some point in the evening. Shimvambalana's on Nkoro by the sounds of things. Perhaps there's something that occurred during the evening, or he's just hungry and a bit cold and trying to shelter away from the wind. Blinking sleepily in the morning light, this beautiful dappled colouring that we have happening here. It remains to be seen whether or not he's planning on spending the rest of his day here or if he's going to go hunting. Now, if he is hungry, he'll go off and search and most likely hunt something out here. But Wesley, our viewer in Durban, yes, absolutely, leopards do steal prey from other creatures. A leopard is not above scavenging in any way, shape or form. We've seen Tingana and Karula feeding off an old buffalo carcass before. It often happens that they scavenge. In certain circumstances, some leopards will scavenge as much as they kill. Some get very used to scavenging. They almost specialize in it. But they don't necessarily chase predators off it as often as we think. They will definitely, particularly a male leopard, he will chase a cheetah, one solitary cheetah off a kill. And we saw it with Mvula during the Father's Day TV specials, which was an incredible sighting, where Mvula came racing in. Mvula, of course, potentially the father of Quarantine. He came bounding in and chased a hyena off the buffalo that it was feeding on. The most extraordinary moment. Brian and I were so taken by surprise that we actually didn't know what to do with ourselves. I think I sat with my mouth open for a good 30 seconds, just wondering if that really did happen. It was just such an intense day, that Saturday. Leopards do scavenge, they occasionally chase hyena off. There's not that much, though, that they will be able to overpower. So obviously they'd never think of challenging a lion. And as we saw with Mvula, challenging the hyenas didn't work out terribly well for him, because he had to then abandon the kill because the rest of the females returned in full force to chase him away. Absolutely, they won't think about challenging hyenas in greater numbers than that. I don't think he looks like he's eaten. It's difficult for me to tell, but he doesn't have that enormous round belly of a predator that's had some food. And we spoke before, in answer to Kat's question, about the drought and how much easier it makes the lives of the predators. The animals will be forced to come down to 3 in a row pan at some point. He's constantly alert, he's sniffing the air. That's one of the reasons why I made sure that I didn't block his vision completely, or his view completely, of where he can see. He's essentially where Brent left him yesterday, or close to where Brent left him yesterday. Nevertheless, a marvelous surprise. And Aqua, absolutely, I think it's very much worth sitting here and waiting to see whether anything does decide to come down to drink. They're going to be extra specially cautious because it is very windy, and they know that predators are going to start taking advantage of these water points. And if I had to guess, I would say that they're going to approach from our left-hand side. And the reason I say that is because the wind is blowing in from my right. So they'll want to approach in a way that they can try and sniff out any waiting predators. Okay. Just from where he's put himself, he's just placed the guari bush branch across his eyes, so we don't have a view of his beautiful face. So I think we'll just shuffle forward just a fraction so that we can see him. Let's do that now. Oh, he's up. He's up. What's he looking at? Oh, it's an elephant. There's a whole elephant herd coming down. You can't see them for now. They're very, very well hidden, but he's heard them. And this is probably the elephants. These are probably the elephants that were making all of that noise. Right. Now, how is this situation going to play out? Is he going to... He's going to just turn around to watch them. Okay. Let's shuffle round so that we can watch this situation play out. Okay, I know we've got the back of his head for now, but look at that. Elephants on one side and a leopard on the other. This is awesome. This is absolutely marvelous. Yours, make your way. I'm at the southernmost pan. Oh, I've got your visual. This is awesome. Look at this. How often do we get to see a leopard watching an entire herd of elephants come through to drink? They have no idea he's here, but if they carry on around to the other side of the pan, they will be about to find out. And yours coming to join us. This is absolutely wonderful. Most of you are familiar with Yours. You know how much he loves his leopards. He is one of the landowners. Ooh. I think it's safe to say that these are our noisy leopards. Good, thank you, yours. How are you? Yo, they're about to find him. I think she's just realized there's something up. Elephants, of course, have an incredibly sensitive sense of smell. Right, Mr. Quarantine, if they decide to chase you, if you could please not run straight past us so that we find ourselves with elephants barreling in our direction as well. So far, so good. Oh, one female that's not happy. She knows there's something. She doesn't know what it is. I wonder how this situation is going to play out. They might, of course, not notice him at all. And they're not really a threat to him, nor is he a threat to them. But there is the battle of herbivore and predator that plays itself out, and elephants don't take kindly to the presence of leopards in their space, or any of the predators. He could not be more unconcerned. And the elephants are on edge because the wind is blowing. There's one female in particular that hasn't quite found herself a comfortable spot yet to drink. I think that is because she is smelling him. The air is filled with the sound of slurping elephants. Having one very big drink. Oh, oh, oh. Uh-oh. Here we go. He hasn't been spotted yet. There's a good chance that the first thing to spot him will be an elephant calf, just because their eyesight is actually better than that of an adult elephant. I've seen it with baby rhino as well. They also see better than the adults do. Some pushing and shoving going on there. Hello, guys. Hello. It's alright, girlie. I didn't cause any trouble. Okay, girl. Okay. It's alright. There's a leopard here. Please don't get a surprise and blame me for it. It's okay. Oh, it's a boy. That's why he's causing nonsense. That's okay, boy. Well, that changes things. Wesley, do I think that these elephants feel threatened? Yes, I do. They're clearly upset by something. It's not us. It might be that they encountered another leopard elsewhere or another predator. It might just be the wind. But either way, no, this is not a comfortable herd of elephants. And they're about to spot him. I'm surprised that they haven't yet, but he's remaining completely still. How amazing is this? What an absolutely awesome shot. Two of Africa's most iconic animals. Absolutely extraordinary. And blue butterfrog. I'm saying, don't elephants dislike lions more than they dislike leopards? I'm not sure that they... Oh, there's an impala as well. It's going to want to come and drink, and he's going to wait until the elephants move off, and that's also going to add some interesting drama to the sighting that we have here. Oh, I think the elephants are actually going to move off in a different direction, and quarantine reigns supreme for now, at least in terms of his hiding skills. has kept totally still and evaded the notice of the elephants. What you looking at, little boy? That little nonsense causer wants to chase the impala, which is very silly, because he's not going to get anywhere if he does that. The elephants are completely upwind. Remember how I said the wind is blowing from my right? The elephants are completely upwind of Quarantine, and they have no idea that he's been watching them this entire time. But sorry to Blue Butterfrog, I got distracted. Yes, elephants dislike lions. I'm not sure that they dislike them more than leopards. But lions are just, I think, smellier. Oh, big yawn. Was that just so boring, Quarantine? Not exciting watching a whole herd of elephants come and have a drink. Lions are very smelly. They are very pungent animals, so much so that we notice the difference as human beings. And I think because they're social creatures, there's more of them around, and the elephants make more of an effort to chase them away. And yes, then of course there's also the knowledge that a lion is probably the only predator out here that is capable of, if they put their mind to it, tackling and killing an elephant. The cryptic colouring of a leopard, giving us a very clear indication of just how it works. Because Shamsun at one point, in terms of distance, that the closest elephant probably came within about less than 20 meters, so less than 60 feet of where Quarantine is lying there. They're now a bit further away. They're probably about 40 or no, less than 30 meters, 90 feet away, drinking on the opposite side of the dam, having a wonderful time. Little one. Bit more tricky when your trunk's not so long. Very difficult to reach down and not actually find yourself falling in to the water, which does occasionally happen with baby elephants. They have decided that they're going to move off in the opposite direction, I think. Or maybe not. Some of the more thirsty ones. The thing is, on that side of the area, that's where the fresh water comes in, so that's where the elephants usually go to drink, because elephants are fussy drinkers. But there's a very high wall there, which makes it a bit more tricky. Look at that. Has he been spotted? Little elephant knows something, but hasn't worked out. And Quarantine appears to have frozen. There we go, a bit of movement. Look at that little one. It's attracted by movement, but it didn't realize what is there. It senses something, but doesn't know what it is. It isn't brave enough to go and investigate. That's what I meant when I said the younger elephants have different, better eyesight to the adults. This is an incredible sighting. Well, hey Brian, good idea. Well done, good idea coming to Cheetah Plains. This was Brian's suggestion, and I think it was a marvellous one. Our little elephant has moved off, obviously dismissed its suspicions that it was about to encounter a leopard, and moved off with the rest of its herd. But there's a lot of vocalization happening with the different members of this herd, and we heard them screaming when we first arrived here, trumpeting away. Perhaps screaming is a slightly misleading way of describing it. Anna-Marie, yes, elephant trumpeting sounds do mean different things. We might not be able to understand or interpret all of them, but elephants do have a very, very wide range of different communication techniques. Almost invariably though, that trumpeting sound that they make indicates distress of some kind. Oh, look at that, it's amazing. Such an awesome image. Watching everybody disappearing off into the bushes. Yesterday he was being chased by buffalo. Today he narrowly avoided being chased by a herd of elephants. And off they go, none the wiser for their close encounter with one of Africa's most mysterious predators. The leopard has gone completely unnoticed, as he did with us when we first stopped at the pan to have a look around. Absolutely awesome. That was really one of the most amazing leopard-elephant encounters I've ever watched. Not that they actually encountered each other, but just in terms of the scenery, it was absolutely breathtaking. Another big yawn, knowing of course that with big cats, very often when they yawn like that, when they start to groom their feet, they are a lot of the time thinking about getting up and shifting, either to just find a more comfortable pose or to move off in search of prey. Speaking of which, I don't know where that impala went. It got intimidated by the elephants and it ran off. But there are impala around, and at some point they are going to want to come for a drink. Very, very cool. I'm just waiting for a moment before we do reposition to see what he's going to do. I do want to just see if he's going to move or if he's going to stay there. Perfectly nestled between the two quarry bushes. He is gorgeous. I've met Quarantine, Djuma, Quarantine's twin brother once, very, very briefly. So this is one of my longest encounter with Karula's previous litter. While we think about where would be best to put ourselves and what our best view is going to be of this magnificent cat, James is back up and running. Not literally, but the bushwalk backpack is back up and running. Now let us head across to him for a quick update.
Righty, sorry about that everybody, we changed our batteries and now we seem to be up and running again, as Jamie says. I heard her link there, and when she referred to the magnificent cat, I almost for a second thought she was referring to me, but of course she isn't. She's referring to Quarantine, the male leopard. We are going towards the hyena den on Gallagher Shortcut. With any luck there will be some hyenas there. That's why we're going to the hyena den after all. It is not simply to look at the salubrious neighbourhood that is the Gallagher Shortcut hyena den. The battery on the bushwalk backpack is giving us a little bit of trouble, mainly because it's being required to do quite a lot more than it does normally. But we're okay now. We should be okay for the next 25 minutes or so. I'm not sure how long James is going to be able to do those with that leopard, because I know that there are thousands of people converging on Cheetah Plains now, because not much else has been found anywhere around the place. So we'll see. We're not too far from the den site. I would very like to see those little black cubs. I've only seen them once, and that was almost probably 10 days ago now. which is just too long to be away from little ones. And I don't know what the conclusion of what Herbert's Karula was. The conclusion as to what it was. That is actually she's, I don't know. And there's much delightful apricity today. Candace in Cape Town's my new favourite word, apricity. David, you're still alive back there, are you?
Yes.
Okay, good, good. Just making sure. Geraldine, are you still there? Oh, good. Phew. I thought we were alone, everybody, for a second there. Right, we're at the hyena den. Let's go and have a look. Someone's been in here relatively recently. I'm not sure if they're still in there. The creaking boat that is the Mahindra. Oh, there is someone here. Let me just call them quickly before we blunder in there. Station at hyena den coming. It's Herbert.
Herbert running by?
Herbie, have you got visual of anything there? Can we come in?
There's a visual mother name of Bimba.
Oh, and the babies.
Will you mind to give me at least 2 minutes? I'll be moving out soon.
Okay, no problem, Herb. We'll wait here. The babies are there, but Herbie says there's only space for one vehicle, and he's going to leave in the next 2 minutes or so. So, Jerry, is Jamie ready for a link, or should we do a loop around? Alright, let's go across to Jamie while we wait to see what happens here.
Well, James waits to go to the hyena den. I'm just going to move up to give yours a good view of our beautiful leopard as well. Go ahead, Mike. That's affirmative, Mike. There were tyre tracks over them already. The Medoro and Kwanzo. Sorry, guys. Just chatting to Mike. There we go. Oh, this is... This is absolutely wonderful. A playful roll in the sand, and then an intensely focused look off behind us. I'm looking to see whether or not he's spotted something that we haven't. Looking around. And is he going to go for a drink? He's definitely, now that we've seen him up and about, he is definitely empty-bellied and in need of a good feed. Here he goes, wandering along the water's edge. He's going to have a quick drink. I'm going to reposition quickly for us, just so that we've got a view of him from the side. There we go. Absolutely awesome. Okay guys, things are going to get a little bit tricky on the Game Drive comms. Bear with me one moment. Mike, there's just yours and myself in the sighting, because we can't copy all of the responding stations. Maybe if you can just keep an ear out for who's coming, but you are more than welcome to make your way. so magnificent. Absolutely gorgeous. And he is hungry, he's on alert, he's looking for something to eat, and I think he's decided that the patience game is not paying off. He is going to start moving off in search of a meal. Okay guys, things have changed now on the Game Drive channel. There are several vehicles waiting to approach. We're fine for now. As soon as Ataxon starts to enter the area, then we will have to pull out. But we're going to stay with him for as long as possible. Okay, let's go. Hopefully quarantine now mobile south, past the last southernmost pan of 3 in the row pan. Here we go. Let's pull up alongside the magnificent male. Alright, we've still got a bit of time with him. Let's go up here. And he is absolutely magnificent. Let's make the most of our sighting with him, but I am going to have to get onto the Game Drive channel in a moment. So while we watch him stride away, let's enjoy what might be the last view of him, depending on the position of the other vehicles, as he marches forward. No problem, Mike. And it seems as though James has got a very special surprise for you. It's just a morning full of excitement. Let's go and see what he has found.
Look everybody, there's little baby hyena cub, and we've come to the den and there they are, and that's just marvellous. All is perfect peace here, and interestingly we've only seen one cub here. I don't know where the other one is, and the last time we saw them, Jamie made the very good point that one of them seems to be completely dominant over the other, and that dominance may eventually result in, of course, siblicide, or certainly starvation for the other one. And the other one, Jamie thought looked noticeably smaller, and noticeably less able to defend itself. So let's hope it's still in there. Maybe it's just fed already. Now maybe this is the less dominant one actually. Alright, let's go back to the leopard. Apparently we have to say goodbye to him.
Come in, Tax, it's fine, I'll pull out. Oh, in that case, no, we don't have to pull out. Sorry, guys, I thought we were going to be saying goodbye. But, thanks, yours. Cheers. But we don't have to leave just yet, because yours has very kindly provided us with a little bit of space to view him. How marvellous. I want to see if he marks his territory here. Is he going to urine spray, or is he not? I am, however, going to give the best view to Tax, who's just come in. So his guests haven't had a chance to spend as much time with this leopard as we have. He is too. He is scent marking. Not fully, but he did urine spray on that particular bush. It is interesting. That's just because what we were talking about at the start of the drive, about the fact that he's not yet competing for territory, but it seems as though he might be While we reposition and try and find you a nice view, perhaps try and stay with him, let's go back to James and the wonderful hyena cubs.
No changes here, everybody. Still just the one cub having a nice suckle, seeing what's going on, enjoying the apricity of the morning. You see that, David? You see them both enjoying the apricity there. Apricity, for those of you who don't know, means the warmth of the sun on a cold winter's morning. Thank you, Candace in Cape Town, for that one. So, we're just trying to find out where the other little cub is. I have seen not hide nor hair of him or her, and I cannot tell whether the cub we're looking at now is a male or a female. It's still completely black. There's the other one. Yay, look. This is fantastic. Hooray. Both are fine. That's marvellous. I don't see any noticeable difference in size. But I mean, that's because I haven't had a great view of either of them. Let's just see if the other little one comes out. I think trying to get a bit of a suckle from the rear end there, which I think is quite difficult given the steepness of the den. I've looked into that hole. It's very steep. It goes straight down. And just a little bit of movement, and I know that you're hearing, not your hearing, but our ability to transfer the sounds of this scene are not particularly good at the moment, but we can hear the little one inside the den going very high-pitched squealing sounds. It now seems to have disappeared back inside. Let's have another look with the binoculars. Hello Justin, a very nice question from you about when the cubs start to lose their spots and or lose their black colour and get their spots. You see them in the sun, they're already starting to get a bit of spotting. But Justin, normally when they start to spend more and more time out of the den, so those spots will fade from now until they are about, I'd say about 4 or 5 months, then there's absolutely none of that black colour left, it's purely the spotting. It's almost like that black colour sort of splits apart into the spots. I mean, it isn't what happens, but that's kind of what it looks like. Yes, having a very, very hard suckle. Now, of course, most other predators, many predators, have got 4, all the cats have got 4 nipples, 4 teats. The dogs, many more, sometimes up to 8 or 9, at least 8 or 10, I think. Hyenas, only 2. Only 2, which I think is quite interesting. They're in oh, there's the other little one, now at the back, at the top. Looks like a little chimpanzee. And they, because of that, of course, they cannot produce, or they cannot support more than 2 cubs at a time, and often you have the situation where if they give birth to 3 cubs, which is possible, unlikely but possible, then definitely one of them is going to die, because she only has 2 teats from which to feed them. I'm sorely tempted to try and get another different angle on this, Davy. It might result in the cubs going inside, but I think they'll come out again. But just because I think we might be able to get both of them if we sneak slightly forward. Let's just wait here for a second, just in case that other one does pop its head out. Alright, while we move around, let's go across back to quarantine.
We are still with our magnificent male leopard as he goes off in search of something to catch and to eat. And what a marvellous way to finish off our Saturday morning sunrise safari. And as he goes along, he is scent marking regularly, spraying his urine onto the bushes and scraping his feet. And no wonder Shambambalana is not, oh hello, terribly impressed with him. Surprise photobomb from one of the other vehicles. And as I said, I'm letting them just go ahead of us because we've spent so much time with him, and the guests in that vehicle haven't. So they can take prime position as we come through to the end, and we are going to have to pull out in a moment. Oh, be prepared again. Oh, there we go. Thank you, Tax. Giving us a good view. Moving right up to the side. I'm not going to follow him into this drainage line. He is going to disappear in. Let me just let Tax go ahead of me here. There's only space for one of us. Oh, there we go. Good morning, Ephraim. How are you? Good, thank you. You snuck up on me. I didn't hear you coming. Yeah, east, but from the southernmost pan. Yeah, but highly mobile. Okay. Cool. Cheers, guys. Whoop, sorry about the judder, everybody. Let's catch up. Ephraim snuck right up on me. I did not know he was there at all. Let me move over so that his guests can have a view as well. Sorry, guys. As I said, the guests haven't had a chance to spend as much time as we have, so we are going to let them move ahead of us. There we go. And as soon as he does go into this drainage line itself, then we are not going to be able to keep up with him. So we'll go for one last, oh, let's go there, one last view. Oh, rusty. Fine, we'll go one last view here. And we will say farewell to quarantine. My first time encountering this particular male leopard. And what a special sighting it has been, a very memorable one for the first time in seeing him. Well, Cheetah Plains brought us some fantastic luck, and bravo to Brian for suggesting that it was perhaps time to make our way east and encountering a first leopard for me. Quarantine. One of Karula's younger sons. And as he disappears off, we've got plenty to anticipate for the sunset safari. We're going to leave him be for now. Hopefully we can catch up with him there. In the meantime, we have come now to the end of our sunrise safari. So as always, a big bravo and thank you to Brian for his fantastic camera work as always, and I think you'll all agree that elephant leopard sighting is something that will go down in terms of being something truly extraordinary. I'm going to keep babbling on until the thumb has had time to disrobe and make an appearance for the last few moments. Thank you to all of you for joining us. Thank you to Jerry and to Kirsty in Final Control. Well done, Jerry. Back on the job once again. And thank you to all of you. Bye-bye, and we'll catch you in a few hours.
Hey everybody, the two cubs have come out. We managed to move, and thankfully they didn't run away from the car. And now they're sort of, I mean, it looks deeply uncomfortable to me. If I was a hyena mother and I had my bits being tugged at by two different angles like that, I'd probably be very upset. I just think this is an amazing sighting. Look at them. They are having a bit of a scrap over who gets what. But it's a beautiful sighting, especially of Mum. Mum looks stunning. See the wind starting to come up now just behind her. And they've been squealing and shouting at each other. And obviously milk of a premium. Now let's just check if we can see any size difference there. I'm not sure that I can see a size difference. Maybe the one underneath slightly smaller, at least slightly bigger. What do you think, Dave?
Oh, I would agree with that.
But also, look at the nick. Out of the one underneath's ear, you can see a very definite nick. from the right-hand ear there. And I'm pretty sure that's from a bite that's come from a sibling. And they are drinking very, very strongly. Now, what we can see, if you look, Dave, if you get in between the legs of the one at the back there, that looks very much to me like a female pseudo-penis that's just popped out there. And for those of you who are slightly unfamiliar with the situation, what happens is that they've both got all sort of what look like male genitalia. The only way to tell the difference is the shape of the end. So on the males, it's pinched off, the penis is pinched off. On the females, the pseudo-penis just tends to be kind of pointed at the end with no sort of difference in the shaft. And I think that's a little female there that's on top. Now she's taken over that teat. That's interesting. And Mum very patiently just lying there. She'll have to go off every so often. You know that we've been to this den 3 or 4 or 5 times and found nothing here. That's because Mum has to go off and hunt. She has to go and eat. The hyenas don't feed each other in the same way that wild dogs do. So she will have to kind of fend for herself. Yes, she can join the others on a hunt or at a kill site, but it's very unlikely. It's very unlikely that she'll manage to sort of bring something back here and enjoy it. So I wonder how her milk production is going. She looks pretty well fed. Okay everybody, that's going to be it from us today. Nice closing with that beautiful leopard elephants, wonderful hyenas here right at the very death of our cold and precipitous drive. Thank you, David, for your efforts. Big thank you to Jerry in the final control with Kirsten. Big thank you to Jamie, of course, and Brian on the other vehicle. And all of you. We'll see you later at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Bye-bye.